Chairman and President and Dean of Geisinger County School of Medicine. On behalf of our Board of Directors and our Board Chair, Mr. Robert Dietz, our faculty, our staff, our students, I thank you for joining us for the White Coat Ceremony for the class of 2023. As we welcome the members of our newest class for the profession of medicine. You are now the 11th class of MD students at Geisinger Commonwealth, and with 118 students, you are also the largest class in our history. You can sense the enthusiasm of this crowd. I expect many interruptions throughout today's ceremony. It is also by far the largest crowd to attend the White Coat Ceremony. It's the first time we've had to put up a tent in the back of the plaza behind the medical school to accommodate everybody we're expecting. This is really wonderful. If you guys are anything like me, you all need reminders to turn off or silence your electronic equipment. I'd like to start by recognizing the families of our incoming medical students. So I will ask the parents of the members of the class, please, to rise. Sons and daughters, and other family members of the class. From this region of Pennsylvania who are with us today. Geisinger Commonwealth was founded by this community. And more than any other medical school, Geisinger Commonwealth is embraced by the community it serves. We thank you sincerely for your support. I would also like to recognize the commitment and dedication of a group of talented people, Geisinger Commonwealth's faculty and staff. So I will ask the members of the faculty and the staff, please to stand and be recognized. That includes the community faculty and the people on stage. I'll ask you to hold your applause until everyone is introduced, and I'll ask the stage party to stand and remain standing as your name is called. From my left, Dr. Bill Jeffries, Vice President for Clinical and Academic Affairs and Vice Dean for Medical Education. Our speaker today, Dr. Denny Doggart, who helped to get this new medical school off the ground in 2009, and who has been since then a teacher, mentor, and role model for our students. You'll be hearing more about him when he is presented as the Dr. Lester Saber Memorial Lecturer today. Dr. Tanya Adonisio, Associate Dean for Student Affairs. Dr. David Greenwald, Clinical Associate Professor of Medicine, who will provide the introduction to the Dr. Lester Saber Memorial Lecture. Dr. Michelle Schrudy, Associate Dean for Admissions, Enrollment Management, and Financial Aid, and Associate Professor. Sam Mellitz, a member of our class of 2020, who will introduce you to the Gold Humanism Honor Society. Dr. Michael Ferraro, Regional Associate Dean for our South Campus and Assistant Professor of Obstetrics and Gynecology. Dr. Lawrence Sampson, Regional Associate Dean for the Guthrie Campus and Clinical Professor of Surgery. Dr. Shubha Shetty, Regional Associate Dean for the North Campus and Professor of Medicine. And Dr. Janet Townsend, Regional Associate Dean for the Central Campus and Professor of Family Medicine. So please indulge me now as I offer a few reflections for the new members of the class of 2023. As with previous classes, just 24 of you come to Geisinger Commonwealth directly after receiving your bachelor's degree. That used to be the rule. Now it seems to be the exception. Most of you have spent time in graduate school or in the workforce. 17 of you already have a Geisinger Commonwealth degree as graduates of our Masters in Biomedical Sciences program. You have among you a science teacher, a beekeeper, a lawn worker at Arlington National Cemetery, a nurse, a mental health technician, a paramedic, an executive search consultancy associate, a research associate, an analytics scientist, a photographer, a platoon leader in the U.S. Marine Corps, an engineer, the co-founder of a nonprofit organization, a football coach, an outdoor instructor, a graphic designer, an autopsy technician, a blogger, I suspect more than one blogger, a designer of a wireless internet in Nicaragua, an Eagle Scout, a crisis counselor, a patient advocate, a case study support person for Naval Air Systems Command in the U.S. Navy, a painter, a preventive search and rescue ranger, a choreographer, a Spanish translator, a nanny, an AmeriCorps Vista program participant, a powerlifting competitor, an infantryman of the U.S. Marine Corps who was also a team and squad leader, marksman, explosive detection canine handler, and a psychological operations specialist. How about that for preparation for veterans? A number of serious athletes, including several runners who have completed marathons in Philadelphia, and a first-degree black belt in Hokkaido. We have someone who has completed a half marathon dressed as a grilled cheese sandwich. Musician, I could name her, but I fear that that would stick with her through 40 years. Musicians in the class include a pianist, a violist, a drummer, a clarinetist, several guitar players. Dancers among you do ballet, jazz, and Bollywood. Most of you speak another language. 68 of you speak at least one other language. 22 of you speak 3 languages. And 2 of you speak 4 languages, one of whom has also learned and then forgotten American Sign Language. Many of you have traveled extensively, and I doubt that any of you can top the student who has visited 52 countries and all 50 states. A number of you have performed service activities abroad in countries including Bangladesh, Haiti, Zambia, Jamaica, Tanzania, Peru, Saipan, Argentina, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Honduras, Spain, Guatemala, Ecuador, Israel, and Uganda. 30 of you have graduate degrees. And we're very proud of this. 20 of you are the first member of your family to go to college. So clearly, you all have much to teach each other, well beyond what you will learn in class. Today, the faculty of Geisinger Commonwealth will cloak each of you with a white coat, a symbol of professional obligation you will bear proudly throughout your careers as physicians. There's never been a more exciting time to enter the medical profession. Despite what you may hear from physicians in the profession who don't like all the stress, all the paperwork, all the documentation, you hear about headaches, but there's never been a more exciting time to enter medicine. When I entered medical school, which is now more than 40 years ago, we could never have dreamed of the tools that you will take for granted, such as targeted monoclonal therapy, molecular diagnostics, robotic surgery, computerized medical records, pharmacogenomics, cancer immunotherapy, fetal surgery, magnetic resonance imaging, or the many other tools that you will have at your disposal. And since the pace of medical discovery continues to accelerate, we can't even begin to imagine the many new modalities that will change medical care during the course of your careers. We can't know what they will be, but we do know that they will happen. And we can't really predict what your life will be like as a practicing physician, but you'll have much more to work with than we ever did. So that will all change, but what needs to remain constant through all of your careers is your relationship with the patient. Many things in our exciting world of modern medicine conspire to separate you from them. These technical advances can tempt you to focus on the technique more than on the suffering patient. Technical advances have spawned subspecialization and fragmentation of care, and these can distance you further from the person on the other end of your laparoscope. The burdens of documentation, approvals, electronic record, pressures to see more patients haven't helped either. So this is where oaths come in. They remind you that through all of this, your relationship with the patient is central to your identity as a physician. All American medical schools administer a version of the Hippocratic Oath at commencement. But the first time medical students took an oath upon beginning medical school was only about 26 years ago, 1993, that the Columbia College of Physicians and Surgeons, where Dr. Arnold Dole was a pediatric neurologist on the faculty. It was through the active efforts of the Arnold P. Gold Foundation that white coat ceremonies now take place at most medical schools in the United States. We didn't have a white coat ceremony when I entered medical school, and I think it's a really good thing. The oath that you will be taking today is unique to Kaiser Commonwealth. It is blessedly short, but it encompasses the key elements of being a great physician. That your patients will be your first concern, that you are studying and working hard for their sake, that you acknowledge your limits, that you be gracious to your teachers and colleagues, not intended there to be self-serving. It's a manifestation of that element of the original Hippocratic Oath. That in your studies and in your life, you will manifest the dignity and integrity that your future patients will expect of you, that your family expects of their physicians. That you practice humility, and there's a paraphrase in this oath from it's a lovely phrase from the Oath of Maimonides: "May I never see in a patient anything but a fellow creature in pain." I encourage you to keep this oath in your hearts, to reread it at intervals during your odyssey through medical school, to keep you in mind of your higher calling and your obligation to your future patients. It's now my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Tanya Adonisio, Associate Dean for Student Affairs.
And when Dr. Scheinman so eloquently described how to approach patients with dignity and humility, you may have been envisioning yourself doing so in some distant future, perhaps when you are a resident, a real doctor. Perhaps you think that's when you'll begin upholding your oath. Don't make that mistake. Your education here at Geisinger Commonwealth will introduce you early, this year, to clinical settings. You'll begin the hard work of upholding your oath now. Medical school will test you. Sometimes the sheer volume of knowledge you're expected to acquire will seem overwhelming. Sometimes you'll feel sleep deprived. Sometimes the combination of these things will tempt you to jettison what you may think of as the niceties, like patience and basic courtesy. You may think it's okay just this once or until that exam is over to speak sharply to your colleagues and not be fully present with your patients. This is when you should remember the oath that you take today. As you recite the words, realize it's a promise you'll begin to keep right away. It's my pleasure now to introduce Dr. David Greenwald, who is here today representing the Seidman family. Dr. Greenwald is a clinical associate professor of medicine. He and the entire Seidman family have been great friends of the school and longtime champions of local medical education. Please help me welcome Dr. Greenwald.
It's my pleasure to be here today to represent the Greenwald Seidman family at the Geisinger Commonwealth School of Medicine White Coat Ceremony for the class of 2023, which I found out is the largest so far. Part of today's activities will be the Lester Seidman Memorial Lecture that'll be presented by Dr. Dennis Daugherty. Dr. Daugherty will be introduced by Dr. William Jeffries. It's my responsibility today to say a few words about Dr. Lester Sateman and why his family endowed a lecture in his honor. So, who was Lester Michael Sateman? Lester was the epitome of a family doctor, a father, grandfather, and to me, father-in-law. He practiced family medicine for well over 50 years, starting a rural practice in Knoxville, Pennsylvania, on discharge from the Army after World War II. Lester was the proverbial family doctor, working long hours, driving over country roads, making house calls, delivering babies, setting fractures, and basically serving his patients 24/7. Lester was clearly dedicated to his patients, but he, from the beginning, had a great interest in medical education. He spent decades as the medical education director at Wilkes-Barre General Hospital, and he helped many local physicians through the fifth pathway as a way that they could enter mainstream medicine after graduating from a foreign medical school. He started the Rural Health Corporation that over a few years set up 4 health clinics in 4 corners of Luzerne County and served the underserved and poor for many years. And he had to travel between those clinics, covering whenever a physician was ill, on vacation, or just overwhelmed. He was among a few physicians instrumental in creating the Wilkes College Hahnemann Medical School program that obviously no longer exists. Appreciating a need for more physicians, or physicians extender, he single-handedly started the King's College Physicians Assistant Program, which today has grown to be one of the largest in the country. He started the first emergency room association so that emergency care would be available around the clock for residents in Luzerne County. So as you can see, education was his passion, as medicine was his life. Lester Sateman was a role model for me personally and for so many students that he mentored. He was a generation above me, as I am a generation or 2 above you. The culture in which you will practice medicine will be different. Therefore, before I finish, I'd like to just share a few thoughts on this auspicious day. As Dr. Scheinman already told you, remember that the patient comes first, and you work for the patient, only the patient, not for any institution that may be your employer or any insurance company who pays your fee. The Hippocratic Oath that you will take after completion of your studies emphasizes that all medical decisions that you shall make will be for the welfare of the patient. That will become a very heavy burden for you to shoulder because of all the external pressures that are being put on the medical profession by insurance companies to save money. Remember, they're a business, you're a physician. Second, there is no doubt that technology is great. Your generation is growing up with it, and you'll be comfortable with it, not like my generation. But please, don't put technology between you and your patients. And third, remember that medicine is a mixture of art and science, but you have to nurture it with compassion and dedication. Some today think of medicine or being a physician as just a good job. But I ask you, in the memory of Dr. Lester Sateman and his love of medicine and his love of medical education, do your best to preserve a great, glorious profession. You're all in for a great ride. Enjoy the next 4 years. And I and my brother-in-law and partner, Dr. Bruce Sateman, would hope to see some of you in our office as we try to continue the legacy of our father and father-in-law, Dr. Lester Sateman. Thank you.
today to celebrate this milestone on your journey to becoming a physician. In the words of Dr. Arnold E. Gold, founder of the White Coat Ceremony, the white coat is personally placed on each student's shoulders by individuals who believe in the student's ability to carry on the noble tradition of doctrine. It is a personally delivered gift of faith, confidence, and compassion. One of those individuals, selected by the students as a role model of the profession, is fittingly here to address the students on his perspective of humanism in medicine. Dr. Dennis Denny Doggart was born and raised in Ellisburg, Pennsylvania, and graduated from the University of Scranton, earning a degree in biology. He graduated from St. Louis University School of Medicine in 1972 and completed his residency at Cardinal Glennon Hospital for Children in St. Louis. His keen interest in preventive medicine and his love for children made pediatrics his lifelong vocation. Dr. Doggart is now retired from practice after more than 40 years of service in northeastern Pennsylvania. He became a clinical faculty member at Geisinger Commonwealth in 2009, taking third-year students on pediatrics rotations into his private practice. He began serving as professor for first and second-year students in 2013, a position he holds today. He's been instrumental in educating Geisinger students and the community about adverse childhood experiences and their long-term connection to and influence upon many common and chronic health problems like diabetes, high blood pressure, and addiction. These hamper the quality of life and shorten life expectancy. Adverse childhood experiences are also linked to increases in learning disabilities, incarceration, and other psychosocial issues. For more than 15 years, Dr. Doggart has undertaken an annual medical mission trip to Mandeville, Jamaica. Over the past few years, a cohort of GCSOM's Sidari Global Health Award recipients accompanied him to Jamaica to learn how to deliver excellent care in resource-limited environments. This past year, he was recognized with the Leonard Tao Humanism in Medicine Award from the Arnold B. Gold Foundation for clinical excellence and outstanding compassion in the delivery of care and respect for patients, their families, and healthcare colleagues. Dr. Doggart has been married to his wife Grace for 50 years, and he has 4 daughters and 8 grandchildren. It's my pleasure to welcome the 2019 Saban Speaker, Dr. Dennis Doggart.
Thank Dr. Jeffries for his kind introduction. As I was driving down here with my wife, I thought of my all-time favorite TV personality and thought that I should start the day by saying, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. If you go outside, a day as gorgeous as this is a perfect, auspicious moment to mark your entry into medicine, a lifelong career that you'll love. It is my distinct honor, privilege, and pleasure to address you today, the class of 2023 at Geisinger Commonwealth School of Medicine, on the occasion of your White Coat ceremony. This event, as you heard, marks the beginning of your medical career. It is your initiation into the medical profession. The path you have chosen is a very noble one indeed. You may think as you enter that it's the start of where your journey to add an MD to the end of your name. This is true, but it will be so much more. This will be the start of what I consider a great lifetime adventure. It is most importantly, for each of you, a journey of discovery of your best, truest self. It is a lifelong commitment to becoming extremely knowledgeable about diseases, medicine, new treatments, and new advances. You will experience many new skills and learn the science of medicine. How does our human body work? How does our mind function when we are well? What makes it get diseased? What makes it go bad and go off the track? How do I help heal it? The science of medicine is fascinating, and faculty are dedicated to learning all of these important concepts. We, however, are even more keenly aware and want to convey to you that the major focus of medical care is the patient. I'd like to repeat that and emphasize it, if I may. important person in every room that you encounter in your life. She or he is why you'll be staying up late at night in the library, working long hours in the lab, spending hours learning and practicing correct techniques of the physical and history. I use the term medical care, and I'd like to just sum that up a little bit. I know you guys did a scavenger hunt the other day. I want you to go back this afternoon and scavenge around and see if you can find the plaque in the lobby that talks about caring. It's in our school lobby, and I stop and read it every day that I'm at the school. It states, to cure sometimes, to relieve often, to comfort always. This is our work. This is our first and greatest commandment. Patients will come to us in pain, both physical and mental. They are vulnerable, anxious, frightened, and suffering. As we work with them, it is incumbent upon us as physicians to know them. We have to know their name and listen to their stories. To care for, and yes, to love them. Being allowed and being invited to be part of their family's medical care, the births, the growth and development of children, illnesses, vulnerabilities, fears, and death, is a privilege that you will all get to experience and share. And I stress that it is a privilege that families invite us to share this with them. This is an awesome and incredible gift that your patients will give to you. I like to tell stories, and so I'm going to cite 3 different viewpoints of what caring is. And these are people that I've known. And I start with a physician, a medical student, and a patient. My partner for 30 years, Dr. Tom Zatoski, was a man of deep faith, inestimable kindness, and a great caring spirit. Tom introduced me to his patented phrase and motto. Denny, every day I knock on that door, I walk in, and I know that I will see the face of God when I walk into that room. This was a model that Tom took to heart and used it in every patient encounter, and he imparted it to me into our practice. I would like to tell you a story about, we're in HIPAA world nowadays, so I can't use appropriate names. So I'll tell you a story of a medical student, who I will call Lacey, who graduated several years ago from this institution. Lacey was a young woman who I had in a small group, and she wrote in one of her reflections that her hope and goal in her career was that she would look at each of her patients and know them. She would know her patient as Mrs. Brown, a 72-year-old woman who had lost her husband 2 years ago and was still sad about that, but was dealing with it. Had 7 grandchildren, 4 children who lived nearby, had a dog named Rufus, and loved to listen to the opera on NPR on Saturday. She belonged to a mystery book club at the library. She did not ever, ever want to know this woman as the cancer in room 327. And lastly, I'll tell you a brief story. 2 years ago, my wife and I had the good fortune to meet a young woman and her young daughter. The little girl was 18 at that time. Her name was Katie, mom was Diane. Again, HIPAA, not their real names. Diane told me at one point when she found out that I was a physician and that one of my roles in life was teaching medical students, she said, I would like that if you ever have the opportunity to address a group of students that you would tell them Katie's story and my story. So here goes. At 2, Katie, who was then a perfectly normal child, had her first experience of suffering a grand mal seizure. If any of you have ever had the experience of witnessing a grand mal seizure, you see someone thrashing, garbled speech, they can't talk, they're foaming at the mouth in some cases, they're uncontrollable. It's a terribly frightening experience if you're a doctor and you've seen hundreds of them. If you're a parent who's never seen one, it is terrifying. And so Diane talked about how terrified she was. Fortunately, she lived in a Midwest city that had a really good pediatric hospital, a medical school, and top-notch doctors who worked there, world-famous people. Diane recalled that on the second day of Katie's admission, there was an invasion of white coats, and I think Dr. Scheinman talked about how sometimes we use the white coat as a protection, She came in, stood around Katie's bedside, and talked about her case over her mother, and discussed what they thought it could be, what could be wrong with her, what they were going to do about it. And then they left. As the entourage was going out, Katie said one of them remained behind. Happened to be a young medical student who reached across the bed, leaned down, gently stroked Katie's face and hair, turned to the mom and said, "Katie is such a beautiful little girl. We'll figure out what's wrong with her." To this day, 20-some years later, when we met Diane and Katie, this is her lasting memory. She has no idea what the doctors told her that day, has no idea what the name of the world-famous neurologist that she visited that day is, but she remembers the kindness and caring that was shown to her and her daughter by someone taking the time to recognize her as a person and acknowledging her as a person and calling her by name. So I want you all to carry that with you as you go through your training and in your medical school time. If at some point in your career you reach the level of baton or elation regarding and knowing and caring for your patients, and if you touch the heart of someone like your own Diane and Katie, you will be a very happy person in your career and should count yourself as blessed. I would offer you two final thoughts for today. Unfortunately, the first is an assignment. Sorry, medical school. However, since it is a white coat ceremony, it will be an ungraded assignment. I want those of you who are in this class, as you come up there and get your white coat, and as you're processing out, just to take a look at the audience out there. And when you get outside, find your family, your parents, your spouse, your children, your brothers and sisters, and give them all a hug. While your classmates are coming up and while you're sitting here seeing them process up, take a look at who you're going to be spending the next 4 years of your life with. You'll spend many, many hours with these people. Some of them will be very happy hours, some of them will be very stressful hours, but these are people that you are going to share a journey with for the next 4 years. I graduated from medical school almost 50 years ago. I still have friends who had time who I'm in close contact with. So many of these people will be your lifelong friends. I'd also like you to take a look around and see the faculty and all the people in this auditorium. There's a huge number of people here. And I want you to realize and acknowledge that they are all here today to support you not only today, but for the rest of your career. Secondly, one of the things I will ask you to do, I want you to consider, this is a habit of mine that I got into years ago, taking some time every night, 5 minutes over an Oreo and a glass of milk or whatever, and just sitting down and looking back at your day and thinking, what happened today? What was good in my life? What did I do well? What did I do that I could make myself a better person going forward? And don't dwell on either of them, because we both do both. Some days we do well, some days we do really bad, and we make mistakes. So don't knock yourself down if you have a bad day. Don't build yourself up and believe you're pressed if you have a really great day. Also, I want you to, at that moment, think about what was great in your life that day. And it may be something as simple as when you walk into the medical school and you meet Mary Ann with a big smile on her face, walk with you, or Ray, the security guard, will wave to you and say hello. Remember the small things that are going to make your life great. My wish for each and every one of you is a great future in medicine, an amazing journey of self-discovery. My hope is that each of you will experience much joy in your medical career. Welcome to the beautiful, wonderful world of medicine. Thank you.
my pleasure to call the students forward to receive their white coats. Presenting the white coats for the class of 2023 will be Dr. Michael Ferrara, Dr. Lauren Sampson, Dr. Shiv Rochetti, and Dr. Janet Townsend. Will the students of the class of 2023 please stand to receive their white coats? I would ask that all of you hold your applause until all names have been called. Lauren Aguiar. Daniel Bach. Giovanni Bayamonte. Caroline Van Der Step. Pooja Baba. Rachel Joy Bockel. Tyler Lawson Bagache. John Michael Boyle. Gabriel A. Brudico. Joseph Campanella. Vincent Canzanese. Amanda Carr. Ananya Chandra. Marcia R. Chowdhury. Sally Chu. Molly Coilla Collins. Jesse Constantino. John Coulter. Christina Cucci. Sarah Lynn Colbert. You did that. Nicholas Selecta. Michaela Dearborn. Scott M. Delenick. Stephanie Delma. Michael De Palma. sing. Sarah Hunsicker. Ebua Igudara. Amelia Kubik. Leonard John Javik III.
LJ!
Sandeep Cologne. Eric Koza. Daniel Pradeville. Rebecca Lees. Veronica J. Leonard. Noah Lieberman. Irene Lynn. Adam Lombardo. Amalia Casey Crop Lopez. Joshua D. Madera. Shahid Manzar. Anthony Markowski. Maria Christina Marcos. Caroline Martini. Ava Miller. Sydney Miller. Anisha Morris. Catherine Mullen. Nicholas Minarski. Bradley Knapziger. Catherine O'Brien. Leah Osnes. Matthew W. Perry. Prashani Patel. Ellen Penn. Rebecca Petlansky. Susanna Pitt. Emily Jo Pocius. Jude Pollitt Moran. Jonathan Poe. Saeed Yusuf Ali Padre. MashaAllah. Anna Rahman. Zoya Rahman. Ashley Ragam. Julia Marie Schroer. Sarah Schubach. Sydney Shea. Michael E. Siegel. Aaron Smith. Richard O.
Yay,
Raymond Anthony Stemrich. Adam Michael Sunday. Brianna E. Sylvester. Thomas Timmerman. Allison Morano. Callum Wallace. Jordan Weaver. April Bunny White. Jordan David Wolfheimer. Mia Woloshin. Congratulations, class of 2023. I will now ask Dr. Scheinman to approach and administer the medical student oath.
Students, I ask you please to join me in reciting the Commonwealth School, Geisinger Commonwealth School Medicine oath. The audience will find the text of the oath on page 7 of the program. Will medical students please rise? Let us recite this oath in unison. As a physician, students, please be seated. It is now my pleasure to introduce Samuel Mellitz, a member of our class of 2020, who will tell you about Geisinger Commonwealth's chapter of the Gold Humanism Honor Society.
Thank you, Chairman. Welcome and congratulations to the Geisinger Commonwealth School of Medicine MD class of 2023. My name is Sam Mellitz, and I'm a new student member of the Gold Humanism Honor Society at our institution. It wasn't easy to get here, for a few reasons. You may have some mixed feelings of excitement, relief, maybe some anxiety. It's a big milestone, I won't lie, and proud. I know all of your loved ones are certainly proud. Taking this moment and all of its feelings, putting on that white coat with your name inscribed makes all this feel real. The White Coat ceremony was established in 1993 by the Gold Foundation. The Gold Foundation, founded by Dr. Arnold Gold, is committed to the recognition and support of a human connection in healthcare. The foundation engages schools, health systems, companies, and individual clinicians in the joy and meaning of humanistic healthcare to ensure patients and families are partners in collaborative, compassionate, and scientifically excellent care. Take a moment to appreciate the pin on the lapel of your fresh white coats and what it represents. The golden Mobius loop, the symbol of infinity, represents the sacred bond of trust, respect, and communication that connects healthcare professionals when humanism is at the core of healthcare. Both this ritual and pin are meant to highlight compassionate, interprofessional, and evidence-based care before you even step foot into the clinical space. Dr. Gold noted that the classic Hippocratic oath that medical students took at the end of their studies occurred 4 years too late. So today, at the launch of your long, challenging, yet rewarding journey, you just took GCSOM's version of the Hippocratic oath. You will repeat this oath at the start of your 3rd year before taking on your clinical responsibilities as a reminder that quality medical care is inextricably intertwined with humanistic care. As a representative of the newly inducted members of Geisinger Commonwealth chapter of the Gold Humanism Honor Society, I'm eager to bring attention to this nationally recognized organization and its values prioritized here at Geisinger. Wear your pin and coat proudly as a reminder to care for the sick with compassion, to treat the patient rather than the disease. Let it help you see John, the truck driver who's terrified by his black toes and overwhelmed by his illness, rather than Bed 16, the non-compliant diabetic with a gangrenous foot. When physicians practice humanistic care with their patients, they make more appropriate medical decisions, patients are more adherent to treatment plans, and less money is spent on healthcare overall. May this pin, its symbol and message, serve as inspiration to you and to your commitment to keeping healthcare here. Thank you and congratulations.
say, welcome to the profession of medicine. You all look great in your new white coats. Great fashion statement. You've already begun the hard work of becoming a doctor. It involves learning a lot of facts, yes, but those are not nearly as important as learning how to gather and process information, how to think like a doctor, how to become a lifelong learner. Our curriculum has been working with patients early on, so these white coats will soon be your work clothes. But they can be a danger too. Some doctors succumb to the temptation to think of their white coat as a shield or a barrier or a status symbol. Taking care of patients is a frightening thing. The responsibility is intimidating. But more than that, the patient's illness is a frightening thing. It reminds you that you are vulnerable, that you are mortal. And if you're not grounded and mature and comfortable with your own mortality, it's hard to be there for your patients as you need to be. That's a lot to expect. And that is something that the white coat really doesn't help with. Some doctors create a distance between themselves and the patient as a defense mechanism. They stand at the foot of the bed and think of the patient as the illness in room 42. They use the long Latin terms that we're going to teach you, talking about the patient in the third person, wearing their white coat proudly as if it says to the patient that you are above them, as if it says that you are safe from becoming like that patient. You won't be one of those doctors. You were selected from a large pool on the basis of not just your excellent academic records, but even more importantly, your experiences and your character. And the values of Geisinger Commonwealth, which are woven into our curriculum, are focused on the patient, on caring. I think Dr. Dogger gave you some very important wisdom that you should remember. And you will be focused on the patient and caring as well. You're probably familiar with Maya Angelou's very famous quote, that people will forget what you tell them, like the famous neurologist who dropped his pearls of wisdom, and they were probably very important and very well likely helped that patient tremendously. The patient forgot that famous stuff. Patients will forget what you do for them. What they will remember is how you make them feel. And if you make them appreciate that you care, then you will be worthy of taking care of them. So you will come to see this white coat, not as a symbol of status, but as a reminder that your role is one of service to the community and to your patients. In that spirit, you should wear it proudly. So, the Geisinger Commonwealth's class of 2023, I offer with excitement my sincere welcome to the Geisinger Commonwealth and to the profession of medicine. To the audience, I offer you a reception. But I ask that you remain seated while our students in the stage party exit. And I invite everyone to that reception to the Medical Sciences Building at the Plaza at 525 Pine Street. Thank you.